and respond if necessary.
Oh yeah, we were sitting there enjoying the fireworks, and I always comment how, wondering how fireworks are going to evolve over time, and there was some bigger ones this time around than there were last year, so it seems to get better each time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal.
Absolutely. Well, should we introduce our first guest?
I think so.
All right, I'm excited to hear what the latest and greatest is, and this is about our upcoming air show.
Yes.
In October. So with us we have Major Sam Freeland, who is our lead planner for this event, and we'd like Sam to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Sam, and then what's in store for the community in October.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you for the warm welcome. Sam Freeland, like you said, from Montana. Been in the Air Force for about 14 years now. Assignments from Offutt Air Force Base, Columbus, Mississippi, NAS Pensacola, and I've been out here for about a year now, and was lucky enough to land a spot trying to organize the air show and bring it back. The first air show here at Edwards was in 1957, and the most recent one was 2009, so about 13 years ago. So our task is not just to bring back the air show, but to work to make improvements and continuously strive for that, notably trying to increase some access points to open up to more and more people. And one of our big components, too, is going to be communication. We have avairshow.com currently standing up where people can go there to get a lot of information about upcoming acts as we confirm them and as our plans come to fruition. And then we also have an app in development. So a lot of this information and access and our ability to communicate with the public since 2009 has improved greatly. So one of those things people can expect is through that website, and when that app is available, you'll know that on the website. You can access that there. That'll be, I think, a huge leap in improvement in communicating with the general public and anyone who wants to come out from the 2009 show. 2020, we did have the hybrid air show, but this one is where we're going to have the first large physical presence here back at Edwards. Key components, it is our open house, air show, and STEM Expo, so emphasis on all those items. The Friday, the 14th leading into it, before the 15th and 16th public air shows, we are going to have possibly 10,000-ish students from the local area coming out on buses to support and take part in our STEM Expo. We're expecting 50 to 60 hands-on STEM booths for children to interact with. Our demand, we're looking at 30 to 100,000 people potentially per day, and those are just some of the major numbers. So the schedule here you can see, Friday is our Edwards Air Force Base Families, DVs, Vets, Media, and with that, our Trusted Traveler program. So that's the day where, if you're on Edwards and you want to bring out your family, that is really the day for that. And it says air show rehearsal, but no doubt about it, that is a full air show. You're going to get the same experience that everybody else is getting throughout the weekend. And then going into the weekend, that's an option open to the general public there. Our gates, we're planning to open up at 9 a.m. and start the flow from our west and north gates will be public entry. And we'll have kind of all these components, and the Air Force Thunderbirds are going to be our headliner. And as our acts shape up, we're kind of fleshing out when the close time is, but you can expect it to take 3.5 to 4 hours is probably about a ballpark, depending on how those acts go before we wrap up with the Thunderbirds and everyone can head home for the day. So those are some of the major components, big things. I know we got the list of STEM that went through there too, that this is not just an Edwards event, it is the Aerospace Valley Air Show, Open House, and STEM Expo. The amount of support we're getting and teamwork, NASA's on our facilities, just a part of the family here. They are really chipping in with resources, aircraft, and everything. So that's very unique since NASA doesn't necessarily always have the capability to put on their own air show, to be able to thoroughly incorporate them here, along with industry partners and all the people here in the Aerospace Valley who work to design, test, and build these aircraft that get vetted by Edwards, that we're able to incorporate them all, and they're so willing to do so, to be able to just interface with the public on this level and show them what Edwards does and what we're all about, from that STEM all the way for those younger ages, all through your airplane fanatics who need no explanation on anything that's parked out there. So really a great broad appeal, lots of room, probably something for just about everyone out here on the October 15th and 16th general public days if they can make it out there. Trying to think of any other major components. The other part of that is the lift. I know we've got some slides going through here too. This is definitely a team effort, and we have a lot of people. We need support from the community. If you were, we used to participate in the LA County Air Show, and you bring something unique to the table and understanding there, it is a huge effort to take care of all those people and make sure everyone gets where they need to go and is well taken care of as guests of Edwards throughout that weekend. So one of these slides will have, there's the QR code. We're looking for supports here. That will go to our avairshow.com website. These are some of the big things we're looking for here, but if you can contribute anything, you can sign up there and we can keep track of it, and then we'll be able to reach out and incorporate you and make you part of the team to help out here for the Open House Air Show and STEM Expo accordingly. But you can see that there, just volunteers to help show people around, sponsorship, donating things, vendors, are all welcome inputs that we will need to support everyone and make the event a success.
So, sir, on one of the previous slides, it showed that you had about a need for 2,000 volunteers. How is that coming along?
We've identified some organizations, the number of people they can provide. Big picture, we are going to have a large volunteer lift internally from Edwards, and we're looking to offset that and augment that where we can. There's a lot of great groups out there, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Civil Air Patrol. 501st Legion is one we're looking at as well, who do that. And we also have the significant support of the LA County Air Show volunteers. Since that isn't available, they have a great organization and love to support air shows. So I don't have the numbers on how many of them they're going to offset from the Edwards amount, but we do have a lot of organizations, but I'm not sure what their numbers for commitment are.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely a tremendous amount of planning and preparation to put an event on at this scale. 30 to 100,000
Right.
attendees, and the logistics that go behind making that happen, and as Major Freeland mentioned, making it a safe and enjoyable event for all. So, what has been your greatest challenge thus far, Major Freeland?
Cool. The greatest challenge, I think time will certainly tell. I bet after the air show, I'll probably reflect upon that differently than what I think now. I think just trying to, with 13 years, trying to find the lessons learned from 2009 and find some solutions to that to enhance kind of everybody's experience with accessibility to the air show is the one thing. We're clearly a military installation. We aren't designed to let on large crowds. We are not an entertainment venue, and we're designed for the other 362 days a year where security is the primary objective in vetting people through there. So trying to work to open up an installation that isn't necessarily designed for that purpose to accommodate as many people as we can and really make it accessible to the general public, I think is one of the biggest challenges I see right now, unique to Edwards. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and really appreciate you providing that update. If you have any questions that you might have for Major Freeland, please use the text app and text those in, and we'll see if we can address those live today or make that part of a reoccurring communication plan with our community going forward.
That's right. If you don't recall, the number is 707-412-8922. And that's going to be at the bottom of the screen here shortly. So please don't hesitate to text in any concerns or questions for us.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything in closing, Major Freeland?
No, thank you for this opportunity. It's good to really just start getting the word out there and let people know that they have a resource, avairshow.com, if they need to go to sign up to volunteer or other general questions about the air show. So just hope everyone kind of starts throwing it in their calendar for October 15th and 16th for the general public, and October 14th for our friends and family here at Edwards with base access. So.
All right. Well,
Should
very
be a
good.
good time.
Thanks again for joining us, and I know you'll be on standby if we do get some further on questions. But thanks for the for the information.
All right, thanks, sir. I'll be available.
Cool.
All right. So, Chief, I did have the opportunity to do newcomers again this week for the wing, and man, what a great, it was a large group, larger than we had the previous time you and I did the newcomers welcome. And excited airmen, uniform members as well as civil service, number of first-term airmen, as well as civil service individuals that this is one of their first jobs.
Sure.
And then there's some veterans as well with military service as well as civil servants that it chose Edwards. I did get a question as I was going through some of the history of Edwards Air Force Base. There was a question about when Edwards name change, how they got their name. And so I thought I'd share that. I asked the group to tune in to our town hall today. So bear with me as I read a little bit of a history lesson of the patch that we're on right now. So in December of 1949, Muroc was renamed Edwards Air Force Base in honor of Captain Glenn W. Edwards, who was killed a year earlier in a crash in a YB-49 flying wing. So by that time, the base had already become the reigning center of American flight research, and on June 25th, 1951, this fact was finally officially recognized when its test community was designated the U.S. Air Force Flight Test Center, or AFFTC. That same year, the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School moved to Edwards from Wright Field, Ohio. So, a little bit of our local history and our Air Force history and military history in that. So I appreciate that question that came from one of our newcomers this past Tuesday.
Wow, it sounds like you had a pretty interactive crowd. Normally when I go through, everybody's shy and quiet, and it's too early. They haven't had their caffeine or whatever, and so don't get very many questions or comments. But sounds like you had quite the opposite. So
yeah, it was a nice engagement, and I look, as I mentioned to them, I look forward to seeing them around our campus here.
Sweet.
So.
Well, that reminds me of something, sir. So I will say that crowd must have been motivated, and that just so happens to be the theme for AFMC Connect this month of July. So, I see some people that are naturally just kind of going with that and aligning. And for anybody that is not, please take the time to have conversations about each of these themes as they come along each month. There's something to be learned with each theme from your individuals in your work centers, your peers, your subordinates, and your supervisors. It doesn't matter. So please connect and get engaged and follow that Airman's Time theme, or that concept rather, that we should all be abiding by. It doesn't necessarily have to be scripted, but it should be a natural conversation and a natural connection, because if we are an Air Force family, we kind of need to know each other.
Absolutely. And motivation's, fairly straightforward, right? I think we realize when we are motivated, either individually or collectively as a team, but sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, right? And so you being able to maybe talk about some of those, those things that, how do you increase your motivation? How do you persevere during times when you don't feel as motivated as maybe normal? So
right. I read something. It was something on social media here lately or recently about motivation, and a lot of us, to include myself, sometimes we look for that person or that moment, something that's going to motivate us. Let's say for fitness, for instance. you don't necessarily need something to motivate you. You need to just start, and then the motivation will come after you've began. And so I thought that was pretty interesting and insightful, because a lot of times we're waiting for something. For me, I'm like, I don't have the energy, so I need some kind of caffeine or something to like get me going, and then the motivation kind of follows after that. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense to me as far as like motivation and momentum.
Yes.
You know, they go hand in hand. When you have a success, it's easier to have the next success. When you have when you get out of bed and do that workout, it's easier to do it the next time, because you reward yourself by the good feeling you had and the pat on the back you're able to give yourself for meeting a goal, even when it wasn't maybe you weren't fully motivated maybe to start it. You have to start.
That's right.
You have
Getting
to start.
started is sometimes the challenge, but once you're in there, you thank yourself later. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, would you like to introduce our next two guests, two superior performers we have with us?
Yes, sir. So we have our Warriors of the Week this week. Right now we have joining us Tech Sergeant McDonald and Senior Airman Weezer, if I'm saying it correctly. So we'll dig into their stories and find out what brings them on as Warriors of the Week, and kind of get to know them a little bit.
Yeah, they look
better.
like warriors. They're pretty serious individuals over there, but I saw them smiling. There they go. I saw them smiling earlier, so I know it's possible. But Tech Sergeant McDonald, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for the Air Force?
Yes, sir, Colonel. Tech Sergeant McDonald, 412 Security Forces here at Edwards Air Force Base. Been here about 3 years. I'm assigned to Charlie Flight, where I help lead about 40 members on the team. Good guys. I've been in around 17 years, so glad to be here. Edwards is definitely a place to be.
It says you're from Daleville. Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so where about in Alabama is Daleville?
It's right on the Florida line, Florida-Georgia line. If you're familiar with Dothan, Alabama, or if you ever been to Maxwell, straight south from Maxwell Air Force Base, you're right into Daleville in that area.
You wouldn't happen to have a favorite football team, would you?
I do, and that's funny you say that, because I was talking with the Colonel earlier. Depending on how the sun is, I claim either Alabama or Mississippi. Father was military, so we did end up staying home in Alabama. Mississippi is where the rest of the family is, so I don't claim Auburn or Alabama.
Okay, fair enough.
If that's your question, Chief.
That answers my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, you got any questions?
Yeah. So you're here as one of our superior performers, and as a NCO in the Air Force, you mentioned you're in charge of currently a flight of about 40 airmen, defenders. Can you talk to us about, you heard us speaking about motivation.
Yes, sir.
How do you motivate, how does your team stay motivated in their daily activities, which sometimes I think maybe are maybe a little routine?
Yes, sir. So basically, of course, just seeing those trends and those guys who probably not as motivated as they were the day before. Give them that guidance of what they're here for, showing them what they're protecting, what they're securing, what their job is. Sometimes it's not even the job. Sometimes it's figuring out if they have family as far as like the background and stuff goes, and digging in. Hey, remember, you join because of your family. Your son, your daughter, or your wife. Somebody's looking up to you. Remember, every time I see them, they always smiles when you bring them to the unit or something like that. So sometimes that could be the motivational portion of it, as well as education. A lot of people do join for education too as well, so you can kind of steer them back in the right direction. If they lose focus or lose track, just being here, being away from home, be like, hey, remember you joined for, initially you started for 4 or 6 years, and now you're almost close to reaching that education goal. You're right there. Get that motivation back. If you need help, by all means, I'll help you take this class with you. We'll sit down and we'll study this stuff together.
Awesome. Well, that goes a long way. I always say if you ever lose sight of what you're doing, why you're here, and all that stuff, always think about why you joined, and that helps to keep me motivated, in fact. And so I often pass that along. A lot of people keep that, and they know that as they go along, but any of us at any given point can lose sight of that, and we could have a bad day that could turn into a bad week, and then you just kind of get lost in why you're here. But that knowing how you tie to the mission and why you join and connecting all of that keeps it going. It's the people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And your answer really tells me why you're here as a superior performer, because you understand that, and as a NCO, that's what we expect of our NCOs. But you're living out the those values, and really being the supervisor, the wingman that all of us need, right? And so thanks for doing that, and thanks for sharing that piece with us.
I might call you to finish my last class for my master's, because I might need some motivation on that one.
I'm not sure what grade you'll get, Chief.
Yeah, but having an accountability partner for those goals, personal and professional, is a great way to help get over those motivation kind of valleys when you need somebody to lift you up and drag you to the gym, or set a study time. So very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Well, can you tell us a little bit, Sergeant McDonald, about? I understand you recently deployed.
Yes, sir.
In your service overseas.
Yes, sir. So I was deployed. It was to two different locations. I started out in Djibouti, Camp Chibeli. That was kind of like a joint effort with the Army Security Forces personnel that was there. So we kind of intertwined. Air Force personnel, I would say about 60 to 65, and then Army personnel around 45 members. I helped lead those guys too, as well, as far as the flight chief standards go. Kind of an eye-opener. Those guys, they're not too much different from what we do. So it was kind of an easy transition going there to kind of help out to secure Chibeli Airfield there in Djibouti. Off-duty time, I helped those guys too as well on the Navy side, as far as the, I would say, the post office services go. So I worked there too as well, gathered up some other security forces members, and hey, these guys need help. Let's go help these guys out on the Navy side. After we completed our mission there, we moved on to Niger in Africa, Air Base 101. Now that's where all the work kind of began, I should say. I was assigned to do the AT, or be the ATO for Air Base 101, as well as I pulled superintendent duties for a little while until another personnel rolled in. That included from us building like weekly exercises, weekly measles, I should say. Almost 200 hours of planning, about 15 exercises total that I was there. I've never led different AFSCs, so that was kind of a challenge for me. I was a direct supervision as far as emergency management goes, so I had to learn things outside of security forces. I had to learn CE, I had to learn communications, I had to learn services, because I'm trying to teach these guys on what we should be doing as far as like trying to secure the area, what their standards and procedures are, and letting them know what our recommended improvement areas should be. So that was kind of a eye-opener / I gained some leadership, knowledge out of that. So I'm kind of proud that did happen. But at the same time, it kind of built a center block, I should say, because we did have two incidents that happened before we actually left the actual air base. One was there was an attempted coup. So all of that planning and all of those exercises that we was running, that kind of helped us solidify and codify us going into FBCON Delta in a timely manner and securing the area. Not only just securing us as security forces and the Air Force personnel, but we also was, we had the Army Special Operators there. They was also part of the exercises too, so I had to learn what the 11 Delta guys, what they was going through and how they proceed with procedures and things like that. So I was kind of in the mix of a lot of different stuff out there. But when we rolled into the FBCON Delta, everybody knew what to do, where to go, because of those exercises that we built and that we coordinated with before that time happened. So we was able to post out in a timely manner. And then another one would be, we had a medevac. The host nation guys, they got into a little bit of a trouble, so we had to do a medevac. Well, go figure. That was part of one of the planning and exercises that we had to as well, of how to do proper evacs or medevacs as it was coming in and out. So we was able to get those guys into the ground surgical team, the GST, again on the Army side, to that location and provide life-saving techniques.
Wow, that experience that you just described there is a true testament of how you go outside of your comfort zone and you then grow and develop as a result. And then training how you're going to actually fight, that absolutely paid off. And it sounds like, that experience you will be able to apply to everything that you do going forward. So good on you. We appreciate your dedication and your commitment over there. And that sounds like an awesome job out there.
Yeah, terrific. And not every, I guess, planning or exercise do you get to see the fruits.
That's right.
But in this tour, you were able to do that, right? And plan, train hard. You described that well, and then the fruits of that are you're able to execute when needed. And you and many other stakeholders, which everything that worth doing is usually going to take a team to do and to accomplish well. So proud of you. That's awesome. Thank you for your service on that combat front, and welcome back to Edwards. Good to have you back here on this team. So
Absolutely.
all right. We also have with us Senior Airman Weezar, also from Security Forces, but a different job. Could you also tell us a little bit about about yourself, and then what you're doing here at Edwards?
So I'm Airman Weezar. I'm down at Plant 42 Security Forces. About last year, I've held multiple positions, from flight chief, patrolman, BDOC controller, and then now I'm the NCOIC for Pass and ID. So I've held, within the last year, I've held all those positions at one time.
Wow.
So I'm from Pico Rivera, California. It's about 100 miles south from Plant 42. I'm married. I have 2 daughters, 7 and 6, so they keep me busy. Have them in travel softball, so
Nice.
it's a very busy life outside of work. Married for about 4 years, and in school and in education, working on my master's right now.
Nice.
So about 4 classes away from my master's. So hopefully by fall of 23, I start my PhD. Is the goal. So I have some high goals for myself. And then with work, so as the NCOIC for now, I'm dealing with all the mission partners down at Plant 42, making sure all the projects get done on time, vetting gets done. When I was flight chief for about 3 weeks, as a senior airman, I was able to lead about 16 defenders to numerous emergency and fire and medical emergencies, to include a fire alarm that went off with Sophia with NASA, that Sophia aircraft that had just landed. So we had to go down there, evacuate personnel off that aircraft in a timely manner. Everything was okay. It was a false alarm, but just having that experience as a flight chief, senior airman, was a good experience for myself.
Wow, so if I'm hearing correctly, I have 2 people I can call to help me finish my master's. But no, good on you for wearing multiple hats at one time. I mean, that in itself is an opportunity for us each to grow as we take on different tasks and we assist in different areas. I've in my past as a comm airman, there were people who wanted to stay specifically and strictly in their own lane, and they didn't want to learn over here, and they just had the blinders on. And I'll tell you, after finally getting them to see the benefit of learning this over here and learning that over there and building your knowledge and your skill set as you go, that definitely pays off. So good on you. And again, that absolutely speaks to why you're here. So we appreciate your efforts there.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, taking on that additional responsibility, and your supervisors having confidence in that you can take on that additional responsibility, and much like Sergeant McDonald, stretching yourself to grow and do the research, educate yourself both on the on-duty job, but then in your off-duty education goals, it says a lot about who you are, and you know, your future's bright. I guarantee it is. You know, more and more doors will continue to be open to you because of your initiative that you're taking and experiences you're taking on. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that with us.
Right. What's your degree in, and what are you trying to be your doctorate in?
So my master's right now is in organizational management. As of right now, for my PhD, it's either I'm looking into public policy
Okay.
or leadership management,
Good deal.
but I have not decided which way yet. So I still have about 14 months to think about it. So yeah, it's an everyday grind, you know, and to piggyback off motivation, you know, there's times that I just want to stop, but
Sure.
then I remind the purpose. At the end of the day, I ask that question, like, why am I doing this for?
Right.
And once I find it, and I remind myself, and I just keep going.
Talk about motivation. When a senior airman tells you that they're getting ready to pursue their PhD, hello, say no more. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me driven, and it keeps leaders driven in general, keeps people around you driven. When they
Right.
hear that you're working on this and they know the things that you're going through, whether it's financially, mentally, whether there's something going on in your family, or whether you're just tired, you know, exhausted from whatever it is, but yet you push through and you say, I'm working on this class and I have homework. I have a 20-page paper that's due on Saturday or something, right? You know, and you hear that and you do a self-reflection kind of naturally, like, what am I doing with myself, you know? And trying to figure out, are you where you want to be, you know, or do you need, you know, to set some goals and move that bar up and get on it. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Beth.
it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience?
Or do you all have
Or do you
any
want
questions?
or any questions that you have for the chief or I, or we can do a call a friend if we don't
If we
don't
don't
have
know,
the answer,
yes.
which
I'm always good with.
yep, absolutely. Call the experts.
I do have one. We've got quite a few questions, definitely in the NCO tier of the possible rank reduction as far as promotion goes. I don't know if y'all heard anything. If y'all have, what's the way forward? That's something that I can take back to my guys back at the squadron.
So absolutely, there is information and guidance circulating regarding the percentages and how, you know, between E5 and E7, I believe it is, or the NCO tiers for sure, that those are going to be lower, and it's based on several factors, you know, when it comes to end strength, when we're talking about how many we can actually promote and versus how many people are eligible. All those things come into play. And then experience and making sure that airmen have the experience before we promote them. There's a lot to peel back there. And so what I would like to do is put together an all call this month, an enlisted call primarily. If there are directors, commanders, or civilians that would like to attend, they're more than welcome, but an enlisted call to absolutely tackle those questions and those issues and those concerns when we're talking about airmen in general. And so we'll have a forum and we'll be able to get all the information in the room, get all the experts in the room, and we'll hash out all the things concerning those rates. But that is absolutely factual in that it's going to get a little tighter, and there are reasons behind that, and it's multiple reasons and factors, and some of it I kind of hinted on, but we'll be able to elaborate and really expound on that during that enlisted call or that all call. And so be on the lookout for that. I want to do 2 sessions at the end of July. It will be dependent upon what the calendar allows, but we'll do an airman tier and then we'll do an NCO tier for everybody else, and we can just kind of dig into that because that is concerning, and we hear your concerns, and I absolutely want to provide those forums for everybody, and I just want to make sure that we have all the expert and the facts in the room when we do that, and so we will definitely peel that back and go into that.
Yeah. Thanks, Chief, and great question, Sergeant McDonald.
Yes, sir.
Weezer, what about you?
The question I have is the feedback or the traction on when it comes to the adjustments for the incentives for personnel that are assigned at Plan 42, when it comes to housing and other sections being available for airmen.
As far as BAH or
Yeah, the BAH and the adjustment of the BAS, and then I know some airmen have to come up here for medical appointments, so getting somebody down there to do in-person appointments on a day or two out of the month, so we could not have all the airmen always coming up here, since they live down there, since they're assigned down at Plan 42.
Sure. I think I understand. So I have not heard any definitive plan for carving off medical providers to go down to the plant. I will definitely get with the team and see if that is being addressed and if there's exceptions being made for our members there. I will say, though, that I recall being at the Plant 42 and those kinds of things coming up, and I brought those back, but we have to make sure that we're careful in that airmen that live on Edwards travel to upwards of 100 plus miles for their stuff. If you're coming from Plant 42 to Edwards, who gets what, and so we have to make sure that we're all inclusive when we make those kinds of considerations, and so that will be another topic for us to peel back when we do this enlisted call or this all call. That will definitely be on the agenda. So please look forward for us addressing that as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. I really enjoyed getting to know you a little better and hearing part of your airman story. And thanks for your leadership. Continue to lead. Best wishes to you as you strive to meet your goals and help your organization meet theirs. So,
Good
thanks
deal.
again.
Thank you for
Thank you,
joining
sir.
us. All right, sir. It looks like we may have a question or two.
Oh, okay. Question, what can be done to fix the cable hanging down very low to the ground on Roseman Boulevard near NASA?
Answer. It's an old TNT comm line, and the comm squadron is working with the vendor to come out and fix it. So they're already all over that, and they're identifying all the lines that may be hanging down and coming up with a way forward to fix all of those. So very good question. Thanks for that one.
Yeah, thanks for making sure that's on. We're aware of that so that we can address it. So thanks for the question.
Cool. Any other questions? Please don't hesitate. Oh, here's one. What will you most miss about either the 412th Maintenance Group or the military overall upon your upcoming retirement? So that one's for you, sir.
Yeah, that's a pretty specific question, isn't it? So that's a tough one. So I think many of us that have been in the Air Force for a while have heard something similar. You miss the people, right? I already suspect that as I transition out of active service in the Air Force, that the biggest thing I'm apprehensive about is where are my peeps as a civilian, right? Mm-hmm. Where can I find the caliber of airmen, the caliber of colleagues that we have in the Air Force? Sergeant McDonald and Senior Airman Weezer. Where the America's best. Mm-hmm. And I may be biased after these 2.5 decades of service, but America's best in the Air Force that voluntarily choose to serve and want to tackle hard problems and want to challenge themselves and work as a team and mm-hmm. Share a common value set. There's a lot to miss in all that, but I think in the end it boils down to the people you're on this Air Force journey with. I think that those are the biggest things. The close second is the mission, right? And because the mission helps us focus on that common goal, as well as it's challenging. It's challenging no matter how you are, your particular job or what you're contributing to that mission. It's challenging in the Air Force. Again, as we heard from our superior performers, the Air Force continues to give you opportunities to grow and to stretch you. And so, I'll miss both aspects of the Air Force, I think, going forward.
Sure. So with that, sir, I was just talking about this about a week ago. Part of what we do, or part of what we enjoy, at least knowing you and some of the other folks around the wing that have been in the wing area, part of that is the teamwork that you mentioned, and leading and developing and growing airmen
Right.
from the ground up, if you will, or whatever that is, right? And then you said the mission. So I think looking forward to retirement, you're still going to be able to, if you do your research, find an organization that has similar values that will allow you to still have a team. Maybe you're leading that team and you're still getting that rewarding feeling from being part of that environment and being part of that team and sharing your experience from when you were a commander or an airman, if you will. Yeah,
absolutely. And there are a number of veterans organizations which I would encourage airmen, no matter where they're at in their service, to seek, either volunteer opportunities or use these veterans organizations as resources. Several of them out there, from the American Legion to VFW to the USO. Many. I mean, there are thousands. There are thousands, that are trying to fill certain niches that needs of veterans and service members, and so that's another way that I'd look forward to continuing to be a part of the Air Force, the military community, and supporting those who are continuing to serve on active duty and their families, right? Because it's, as you and I know, it's you're in it together. You're in it together, and they're your families have similar challenges and successes that get coupled with the service members' service.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's what keeps a lot of us hanging on for so long, and then, or you end up in a civil service job or some contract associated with the government, so that you still get that kind of that vibe or that feel from when you were active duty. So it's tough, because what do you do? Do you have any idea as to what you'd like to do as far as landing the next job? Do you want to work right away? Do you want to take a break?
I'm looking forward to taking several weeks to connect with the extended family and in my family within my home, and to
road trip.
To visit some friends from previous assignments. Get settled in the local community. Much like a PCS, we are leaving the local area here and relocating. So getting settled in that community, that will take some time and adjustment. So I'm looking forward to that piece, and in that process, do some self-reflection and some preparation for making to finding that next employment. So I do intend to continue employment in some aspect of service, right? In some aspect of leadership. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but
man,
it's exciting to kind of think about.
Yeah, I look forward to the day when I don't have to have a schedule, and because I'm very spontaneous, so to just wake up whenever I wake up, not by any alarm, and then figure out what I want to do that day when I figure it out, and just do that for however long, and then I'll get back to got to be this,
Right.
got to be that, the very structured, 9 to 5 or whatever life it's going to be. But no, good on you, sir.
Yeah.
We appreciate all of your service. It was bittersweet seeing you at your change of command, and knowing the time that we've spent as far as what you've done here at the wing, and seeing everybody there in the maintenance group, and the words that General Higer spoke about what you've done as a leader there. And yeah, I personally am going to miss you being part of Team Edwards. And yeah, I wish all the luck, wish you and the family all the best on your next chapter. So
Well, thanks, Chief. That means a lot, and for the many well wishes that we've received recently. I look forward to also staying in contact. It's easier now than ever, with technology and such to make those connections. It's also a challenge, right,
Sure.
in this busy world that we live in too, to do that in a meaningful way. And so, that's something else I'd like to invest in too. So, is some of those relationships, right?
Sure.
But
oh yeah.
Chief, we have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
So it says, Chief, following your roughly first year as a command chief, what have you enjoyed? What were you surprised to learn about Edwards Air Force Base and the mission that maybe you didn't know before arriving?
Interesting. So in my first year, I've observed a lot. I think many people have heard me say that I've observed and I've taken note of what it is to be assigned here at Edwards as an airman, big A, whether you're military, civilian, or contractor. And being a chief at the squadron level, I was excited about my job. I loved what I did. I felt connected to most everyone in the squadron, and I was able, schedule permitted me to get out and interact a lot more with each of those individuals in those work centers. At the group level, similarly, I loved my job. I loved the connecting piece and being able to get out and interact with folks. And for both of those jobs, I felt like me and my bosses at the time were able to grant everyone's wishes, if you will. And I don't mean just do what everybody wanted us to do, but to see a problem, grab that problem, figure out where we need to coordinate, and then provide the fix or the solution, or empower people to do that, whichever way it turned out. And then that problem was gone, and then we'd move on to the next. Coming here to Edwards Air Force Base, this has been quite an adventure, and I was surprised in how much of a rude awakening it would be to take on those problems just the same and ask for the feedback on what it is the wing can do, what can we do, but then to find such, what's the word? Not trouble, but just an inability, if you will, to be able to wave that magic wand and provide solutions for everything that everybody deals with or struggles with here. Most of the things that come up to General Higer's level via me or with me are things that General Higer can't just fix, if you will. And I think that a lot of the frustration comes when people point at the wing as if there's something that we can do. We are doing what we can do, and that is advocating and being your biggest advocates for all the things that an airman assigned to Edwards Air Force Base deals with. And we are talking to every entity from here all the way up to the highest headquarter levels to ensure that they are hearing those situations, those scenarios, and hopefully we'll be able to provide a solution. Unfortunately, for those things that we are taking to those levels, it is not an Edwards problem. It is, in fact, an Air Force level problem. It's a DOD level problem. It's something OSD or Congress has to weigh in on to change, right? And so we're working with the right legislators, the right people in positions that can go to the Hill and tell our stories. And what we need is just for people to bear with us, to understand and always know that we're going to do our very best to make sure that the quality of life for our airmen here is at the top of the list. And that includes whether it's schools, housing, CDC, gas prices, you name it, right? Everybody's heard all those things. And we are not just sitting back on our hands. We are always working to find an alternative, to find an exception to policy, you name it. And that is what's been surprising, is it's not as easy as it was at the squadron and the group levels. And I didn't expect it to be laterally easy. I just expected that it would be a little easier to make some headway on some of those things. But as I said, it's at a much higher level. And so that's what I didn't know,
Right.
if you will. But I'm enjoying every moment of it. It's very rewarding to be a part of the team that is trying to make those things happen. If it was easy, I don't think I would enjoy it as much. It's
Right.
it's those challenging things that McDonald kind of talked about, that grow you and that develop you and that open your eyes up to so much more, and that are going to prepare you for what's next and make you much better on the other side. And so I'm very thankful and grateful to have experienced this year, so that I have felt, if you will, what our airmen are dealing with.
Right.
And that makes it even more passionate for me as I go forward to stand on those tables to say, hey, we need this or we need that, and here's why. I know that was long-winded, but that's everybody that knows me knows that's how it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing and being so forthright. I think that's probably what the listener, I know it's what listeners in general want, but probably the person who proposed that specific question, they're wicked problems.
That's
right.
right.
And we need to hear that feedback from airmen. So don't stop telling us what you're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that we're not missing something and can advocate. But they're wicked problems, and unfortunately the lead time to fix them, or even to chip away at fixing some of those problems, we can all agree it's longer than we desire.
Absolutely.
Right? In some respects, some of them will pass the torch to
That's right.
our successors to continue to carry in making progress, hopefully along the way. So, but thanks for the canter, and thanks for the questions and the. Be demanding customers, as General Higer says.
Always.
Right? Be demanding customers.
Don't hesitate.
Definitely we are here to work those issues of airmen, so that airmen can provide their full attention to the challenging mission.
That's right. Yes, sir. Well, I think that about wraps up today.
All right. Well, it is Friday.
It is.
We were talking about how it didn't really feel like Friday, but
They never do for me.
minute by minute, it's it's slipping by for us. So we'll I guess we'll sign off here, and we'll see everybody next week.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Be safe.